Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm your host, Saabir Bholat, and tonight, inshallah, we'll be having IIT Youth Mic Night. So first, we'll be having one of our brothers, Patel, to give us a recite a surah, a dua. And then after that, inshallah, we'll be having, he'll be also doing the translation. And after that, inshallah, we'll be having a 20 to 25 minute talk from one of our brothers, Mohammad Siddiqui. And after that, we'll be having a short dua from one of our uncles, Ashraf Patel. And now we'll be calling up Anas Patel.
Hello. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wattuha wal-layli idha saja ma wadda'aka rabbuka wa ma qala walal akhiratu khairul laka minal ula wala sawfa yu'tika rabbuka fatarda alam yajidka yatiman fa'awa wa wajadaka dhallan fahada wa wajadaka 'ailan fa'aghna fa ammal yatima fala taqhar wa ammas sa'ila fala tanhar wa amma bi ni'mati rabbika fahaddith. In the name of Allah, the compassionate, the merciful, by the morning daylight and by the night when it covered with darkness. Your Rabb has neither forsaken you, O Muhammad, nor is he displeased. Certainly, the latter period shall be better for you than the earlier. Soon your Rabb shall grant you something with which you will be well pleased. Did he not find you an orphan and given you shelter? Did he not find you lost and give you guidance? Did he not find you poor and make you self-sufficient? Therefore, do not treat the orphan with harshness and do not chide away the beggar, and rehearse the bounty of your Rabb.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala, amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Before I begin, I'd like to apologize as I did not have much time to prepare due to my school classes, and I wrote the large majority of this today and I have not memorized it, but regardless of how I deliver this talk, please pay close attention to the meaning of it. My brothers, we live in a time in which religious knowledge is decreasing, a time in which materialism is thriving and the hereafter is being rejected for worldly pleasures. This life is no longer viewed as a test by most people. They nowadays don't even think about death or the akhirah. Every day we are tested in this dunya. Each of us lives a life that seems long but is short, and whose pleasures seem valuable but are for the most part useless in actuality. And I don't think that this is something that's being properly instilled into everyone. It's sad because this is the very reason for our existence and the purpose of this life, yet most do not know. And as religious knowledge is decreasing, what do we see around us? The loss of morals, the loss of ethics, the loss of guidance. We see that people have lost and forgotten the purpose of this life, and because they're not thinking about the akhirah, they focus on materialistic values, what they can see around them. And everyone is chasing the pleasures of this world, which Allah put in this dunya on purpose, and they're chasing it without the remembrance of their Creator. And corruption is spreading throughout the world as a result of this. When Allah sent the angel Jibril to Jannah, he said, "By your might I fear that no one will enter it." And when Allah Azza wa Jal sent Jibreel to Jahannam, he saw that it was surrounded by temptation, and he returned to Allah and said, "By your might, I fear that no one will escape it." My brothers, let's face the fact that it's difficult for us to live in this country in these times and to be proper Muslims. The fitna today is increasing, and it's sad and terrible to see the youth saying that Islam is so strict and that everything is haram. My dear brothers, when there is so much corruption around us, of course Islam will seem restrictive. But these are the teachings of the Creator of the universe. Allah knows and sees everything. And I assure you that following these teachings will lead you not only to happiness in the akhirah, which we cannot describe nor can we comprehend, but even an inner peace in this dunya. If you look at the state of the youth today, you see that the fear of Allah is almost gone. I see people who do things in secret that they would not want their parents to see, but they don't care that Allah is watching. As Muslims, we are to be closest and most loyal to our parents after Allah and spend most of our time with them. And our biggest fear should be Allah. And it's sad that we see quite the opposite. People have lost their relationship with their parents and family and enjoy spending the majority of their time with their friends. And with their friends, they do things that they shouldn't be doing, fearing their parents but forgetting about Allah. You see that they care about their self-image and they care about what others think of them, but they don't care about what Allah thinks of them. And they're not honest with their parents, they don't have real relationships with them. And this comes from their desire for worldly pleasures. All of this roots back to knowledge. Iman is in many aspects proportional to knowledge. Our youth would be better suited living in this dunya today, especially in this country, if they were taught about the signs of Qiyamah from an early age, so that when they age and they see these signs happening around them, instead of it causing them to stray away from the clear path that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided for us, it would rather increase their iman, as they will see the truth in the words of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But most do not know, and the impact is very clear. In fact, we see many people questioning religion, sadly. Atheism is increasing, my brothers, and it is because of the lack of knowledge. And to an extent, you can see where they're coming from, as they do not know about the prophets that their Creator has sent. They don't know about the revelations that these prophets received, and about the one and only one that has been preserved to this day, which is the Quran. They don't know that it is a miracle. They don't know of the linguistic miracles which Allah has put in as signs for us. They do not know of the scientific miracles there in the Quran. And for those who seek truth, they see that it was impossible for an illiterate man living 1400 years ago in the middle of a desert, in a society where many of the people were illiterate, to know all this. You see, as mankind is improving technologically, they discover more and more of the scientific miracles in the Quran. And for those, they do not know of the historical miracles of the Quran. How things were mentioned that no one recorded or no one knew or taught at the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They do not know of the futuristic miracles of the Quran, as Allah Azza wa Jal spoke of things that had not yet occurred, but when they did, these miracles became apparent. But most of all, and this is something that Muslims themselves do not understand today, that by living by the teachings that Allah put in the Quran, it will lead to a peace not only in the akhirah, but also in this life. You see, the Quran shows the best way to live our lives, yet most of us take it for granted. And because the world is changing and some of the new Western norms conflict with the way of Allah, we see many people who stray from His path, and they begin to create their own definitions of Islam. And when they see that most people do not do something that they should be doing, they call it extremism. And because of the loss of knowledge, the Ummah is becoming more and more divided. The Muslims less and less practicing, and the world is asleep. The true Muslims are the ones who are aware of the truth, and they remain practicing by themselves in their own groups and families, because the worldly pleasures do not interest them. They are aware because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides them. And whoever Allah guides, no matter what happens to them, no one or nothing in existence can misguide them. They are constantly preparing for and fear the inevitable day that will come, Qiyamah. This is the day that our Creator is constantly reminding of us in the Quran. He truly wants the best for us, but He has given us free choice, so it's up to us. When we will be resurrected on Qiyamah, it will feel as if this life was very short. Like when you wake up and you've slept for hours, but you feel like you just went to sleep like 5 or 10 minutes ago. It will feel like it was the length of an afternoon or a morning. And everyone will be scared and fully awake. For the disbelievers, this day will be a torture in itself, because there's nothing that they can do. Their tests are over. There's no protector for you but Allah, and to Him you must answer for your actions. Qiyamah will be 50,000 years, but for the believers, this time will go by very quickly. And on Qiyamah, Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran that the sun and the moon will be joined. And by the way, scientists have recently discovered that in the far future that the sun will indeed expand. through the inner planets, all the way till it devours the moon, and it will be very, very close to the earth. There will be the hisab, where we will have scales, and Allah will question us and basically review what we did in this dunya. For some, this in itself will be a torture. For being questioned by Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth, is not something that we can imagine. And after the hisab, Allah will take away all the light, and the stars and the moon will vanish. In fact, there are more detailed descriptions of the sun losing its energy and enveloping in itself. And again, this is exactly what science tells us, that the sun, like all the stars in the universe, will expand and then collapse in on itself, and the entire universe will go dark. There will be no light. And there will be a sirat, a pathway to Jannah. Underneath the sirat is Jahannam, but it will be dark. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make our bodies shine the light of Iman. So for those who believed, for those who feared Allah in this day, who feared Jahannam, and wanted to enter Jannah through the mercy of their Creator, they will find the sirat, they will cross the pathway to the other side. However, this is not an original pathway. The Prophet ﷺ said, it is thinner than a hair and sharper than a sword. And so even amongst those who find the sirat, people will fall into Jahannam. And my brothers, if you think that you can handle Jahannam, I tell you that you cannot imagine it. It is a punishment that is so extreme, we cannot contemplate it. But as for Jannah, all I can say is that whatever image you have of it in your head, it's far, far better than that, by a scale which we cannot imagine. The lowest of the rewards in Jannah will be given to the last person to come out of the hellfire. Think about this. The lowest of the rewards the lowest of the 7 levels will be all of the treasures of the earth times 10. Basically, everything that we can even comprehend multiplied by 10. Because everything that we can imagine is from the earth itself. So everything times 10, and on top of that, whatever you would like. Just think about that, my brothers. The lowest level of Jannah is something that we cannot imagine. Imagine the higher levels. Imagine the punishment of Jahannam, of the hellfire. The scale in this life is minute, it's microscopic. The whole point of this life is a test to see what we deserve for eternity. So after that test, all the doors will be opened, and the scale will open. This life is like this, and then the afterlife we cannot imagine. No doubt, my brothers, the day when we return to our Creator is coming and approaching. So why not prepare for it? Yawm al-Qiyamah and Jahannam and Jannah are all extremely important, and due to the limitation of time I cannot get into details, but I encourage every single one of us to ask our sheikhs and people of knowledge, for we should always be thinking about death and the akhirah. This is something that can open your eyes and perhaps motivate you to do good deeds and restrain from sin, and I assure that this is the best for you. But you see, this all still roots back to knowledge and iman. How do you cross over the sirat? With your nur, with your light that from your iman that Allah will provide. Because why would you do good deeds if you don't believe? Why would you pray if you don't believe? And it's sad to see so many Muslims today who pray because of their parents, but not because they care about their relationship with Allah. They associate Islam with culture, and then they say that they stick to their roots because when they're at home they pray. They fast sometimes. You know, they talk to their parents every once in a while, but their life revolves around worldly desires because they do not know of the truth. And which culture would they rather follow? One that seems to restrict them from the things that they see all their friends doing and want to do, or the one that seems like it's allowing them to do whatever they want? And this is what makes them start to care more about what others think of them than Allah. And this is what has flipped the values so wrongly, as I mentioned earlier, that they fear what their friends think of them more than their parents, and what their parents think of them more than Allah. And this is again because of the lack of knowledge today. We see confusion, loss of guidance and direction in life. And in fact, this is one of the signs of Qiyamah that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, that religious knowledge will decrease. So seek knowledge, the knowledge that will truly help you. Learn about the miracles of the Quran, of the Prophet ﷺ. Learn about the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. We see so many people today, they care more about the celebrities and they care about the men who will make dua for him, for them, for his whole ummah on Qiyamah. Allah put these miracles for a reason. You will see that there was no way that this man could have, going against all the odds in the middle of a desert, could have done what he did, could have known everything mentioned in the Quran, could have spoken so beautifully without divine intervention. Because you will realize the truth if you have not already. It will make you from believing in the akhirah and being something in the back of your head, to knowing that is the truth, and you will, inshallah, you will do good deeds and refrain from sin because you know of the Jannah and Jahannam and you fear Qiyamah. And most of all, you fear and you love Allah. My brothers, the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba established Islam. They were a minority going against a majority. They were going against the whole world. Everything was against them. and they constructed and built Islam. And it hurts me to see that this building today is divided and in ruins. Now there's a chance for another generation to come and rebuild it. My brothers, we have the chance of being in the generation that will be the most similar to us Sahaba radiallahu anhu. So this generation will be special. They will bring about the second golden age for the Muslims. So if we have a chance to participate or prepare our children or their children to be a part of these golden years, we need to make sure that we are the ones on the field and not on the sidelines watching. And so in these times, it is very important for the youth to prepare ourselves for the future. Be ready for whatever Allah sacrifices and asks for you. We're not living in normal time. There will be major events in the future and lots of ajr will be given. But make sure you get your part of it. I mean, imagine if these events happen and you're not participating, or your children are not. Our iman needs to be the strongest in these times because of the fitna. The risk is very great, and you have potential. We have a potential of achieving a very high reward. So seek knowledge. I ask Allah to increase our knowledge so that our fear of Qiyamah, our fear of Jahannam, our fear of Allah, and our desire to enter Jannah, our desire to be among His favorite of His creation, propels us to doing good deeds and restraining from sin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.